of about 2 weeks ago, we had about 5 to 7 people signed up for the workshop. The only thing I could tell you is the power of social networking has arrived. Most of you have probably never even tasted a brine pickle, although you all think you have. But most of the tastes that you've had are pretty much, they've been pasteurized or done with what is called a hot vinegar salt brine. And basically it's called preserving. And I think one of the unique things about the whole notion of fermenting you're going to learn tonight is scientists are now getting their heads around the fact that a large part of our immune system is really functioning as a part of the gut bacteria that we have. About 70% of your entire immune system is merely having enough imbalance in your gut that it handles viruses, pathogens, bacteria, without having to call up your serious immune function. When you start to get real sick, that's when your immune system, the other part, kicks in. So what we have found, several authors and writers and explorers around the world, that those cultures that are living the longest, that have the longest amount of good immune function, are the folks that are eating a little bit of fermented foods at most of their meals. And it's not only brine pickling, we're familiar with yogurts, good quality soy sauces, wine. There's a lot of different ferments. But tonight you're going to find out one of the easiest ones of all is brine pickling. It's really just salt, water at a certain concentration, vegetables, and spices and herbs. And it also likes to have these little bacteria actually are anaerobic. They live and they learn to live without oxygen. So what we have and what I developed is a device called the Perfect Pickler. In 1992, I had a small little walk-up apartment and I was just teaching myself whole foods cooking. And I got real excited about everything about fermentation. So I was making sourdough bread, the true sourdough bread where I took the actual flour and mixed it with water, and over 14 days I kept putting it in this pile of flour and it would get bigger, and eventually I made this sourdough. And I would go away on vacations and I'd have people water my plants and take out the sourdough and freshen it. And it was, again, it's all things living, but I was also making sauerkraut and I was making beer. And I had all these things chirping and I was so happy. I was calling it, I was cooking with me and my billions of buddies. And I was looking at the beer thing gurgling along, and I had my open crock of sauerkraut, and I was always getting kind of iffy results on the sauerkraut. And I said, there's got to be a different something. And my eureka moment came as I said, well, what if I sealed the system up with a crock and put some type of a breathing apparatus on it like the beer, and I could get together and make this thing. And it's been very simple. It's a device. You all probably have heard of the crock type of kraut making, big crocks, and it's pretty simple. It's been done for hundreds and hundreds of years. The type of pickling that I'm going to show you now is that we can take any wide-mouthed jar from a half pint all the way up to 2 quarts and more, and actually be able to adjust and make batches any time of year in small amounts. So we don't have to make 25 pounds in a 25-pound crock and have the kids trying to help you along the way. So I think you're going to see, and it's a lot of fun because you literally watch it transform on your countertop, and it starts to bubble, and it's fascinating, especially when you can see through the jar. I've gotten pretty right side of the brain with this over those 19 years, and I've got cookie cutters now that you can cut out and make these beautiful stars and shamrocks and times a year and stuff them in the window and give them away as gifts. And another fun thing is to take a small raw beet and you put it in the very bottom of the jar, and then you put all your white vegetables in there, and over 4 days it looks like, I call it the tequila sunrise. It's bleeding up, and you could take photographs of this over the 4 days, and it looks like a sunrise coming up. And it turns your vegetables into that color. So there's all kinds of wild things you can do. So it's getting to be a fun thing to do with the family. You can get into, if you're doing your Easter eggs, you can also be doing your colored pickles. We can make pickled eggs, the guys. I haven't forgot the guys. I've got a killer recipe in our little workbook, Mastery of Brine Pickling, that is a simple thing of taking the chili peppers of your choice, and it's a very simple recipe with onions, garlic, and the jalapenos, the salt and the water. And when you get done with it, you've got the peppers, but now you also can take and puree it, mix a little bit more ingredients in here of your own hot sauce. And part of that, you can also make guacamole, you can make salsa, you can make the pickled eggs using the jalapenos for the spice. So you can make 6 different things out of one recipe in our workbook. What I want to go is start at the very beginning. First of all, I'm going to give you an overview. I don't know how many of you are going to be in the workshop. Okay, good. Well, I have never done this before, but Shirley and I thought this was a great idea, so we still do. But we're all going to be doing this for the first time, so we're going to just ask you to be patient. But it's so simple that all I did ahead of time is I did the chopping of the vegetables, which is all I know what you all would be pleased to have me do anyway. So everything, we don't need any knives. I'm going to actually go through one recipe for you, actually load the pickler and do the whole thing so you'll see how it's done. I'm not going to do the sauerkraut tonight, and I'm not going to do, what I want to teach you tonight is something I've developed. It took me 19 years to realize people think how easy it is to make all these recipes, but we really need to start at the very beginning. So I have a recipe set here called Pronto Pickles, and I'll be going over it, but it's 1 vegetable, 1 spice blend, in about 10 minutes time, and you've got brine pickles that are going to be going over 4 days and on your countertop, and they will be turning into this live cultured, I like to call it farming, because literally, as long as we're all going to be growing something, why not grow probiotics? And I think one of the easiest things is your quart of pickles would cost under $1 to make, but if you were to go out to a health food store or a pharmacy and go and get centrifugally spun enzymes, the more live they are, the more expensive. There they are in the refrigerator section. If you get the really good probiotics, we're talking $26, $27 for a little jar of it, and the multivitamin and the multi-mineral. In that little jar, over 4 days, you've done all that, and it's done for under $1. And I think the interesting thing is those cultures that eat a little bit of pickle, and one of the things we've learned is I was giving my class at Chamberlain's about 7, 8 years ago, and had a senior citizen from Finland raise her hand, and she said, Bill, she says, you know, in my country, she said, we always ate a little something pickled when it was going to be a hard meal to digest. And it was just like a eureka light bulb went off in my mind, and I said, you know, we all do that. What do we put on a hot dog? We put mustard and sauerkraut or relish. What do we put on, I couldn't figure it out how the Japanese could live so long and eat all that white rice. But what do they put on the white rice? Soy sauce, and etc. So I think we're finding out. In Italy, I go, all that pasta, it's just flour. You could turn that into wallpaper paste. Why are they living so well? They're putting Parmesan cheese on it, which is live culture. So they're always adding a little something live. So I'm going to show you today, the most important thing is how simple we can make brine pickles. And number 2 is if you eat a little bit, I like to eat about a quarter couple of meals a day. They taste great. We're not eating this as medicine. This whole culture, this whole condiment, this whole appetizer was created in this beautiful sense of longevity is people figured it out over time that if they ate a little bit of this with their meal, they got the benefit of digesting. And when I talk about there's 100,000 of these lactic acid bacteria that can fit on the period on a sentence. That's how small they are. You've got 3 pounds total in your gut, and that equals over 100 trillion of them. There are about 10 times more of these bacteria residing in your gut than there are cells in your body. So I always like to say, I have a feeling they cultured us, and they're going to be around a lot longer than we are, but I do know The important thing is this science is coming around to the fact that wellness and in the delay of our age of morbidity, those things are much more sustainable when you're eating live culture with your meal. And I think the other thing we used to have, I like to remind you, is around the holidays is all we do now, is we used to have a relish tray. I know in our family, German Americans, you went around and you saw all these pickles, and the Amish country, which are going crazy, by the way, with the perfect pickler, we just can't reach them. They don't have a phone or anything, but when they get it, they love it. But the sweets and sours and the taste. And I think that's another interesting thing about the science of taste, is an interesting thing I like to teach my classes, is that if you had 5 bites of mashed potatoes in a row, by about the 5th taste, you're really not tasting anything. Your brain is flipped off. It says, you know, enough. I know the taste, and I'm not going to give you the taste anymore. Or how about, you know, 8 licks of vanilla ice cream? After a while, you just don't taste it anymore. What these condiments were made, and they still do to this day, is when you mix it a little bit up in your rice with a little bit of chopped kimchi, all of a sudden you nail a piece of kimchi, and then you eat a bite of rice, and the rice tastes like it's fresh again. It's like you're getting a new hit of rice. So it takes our bland staple foods and it puts life into them. It's the taste of sour. And also, I'm going to show you tonight, we're going to make just sour. They sour naturally. We don't add vinegar to brine pickles unless we want to. Or we can add lemon juice or citrus juice if we want that flavor. But if you do want that sweet flavor, sometimes the pickles will start to get, you know, seriously sour as they're aging, because it's a live food. It continues to live and grow at a slower pace in the refrigerator. I've got a bunch of pickles that I brought with me. I've got a nice sauerkraut. I made a special borscht that is one of my favorites. I've got cucumber kimchi. These recipes are either in the booklet in the mason jar kit that you have, or they're also going to be in the Mastery of Brine Pickling, and I also have a bunch of them up on the website. So they're there, and I have a new book coming out soon called The New World of Old World Pickling. And on it, up on the website, I have a photo montage. It's called 99 Jars of Pickles on the Wall. And I have 99 different pictures of all the things that you can do in the perfect pickler. And I'm telling you, you can't believe there isn't a vegetable that I haven't found that I can't make into something delicious. They have these spiral vegetable peelers. We got julienne peelers. The important thing is it's fun. It's like bringing hobby, and it's bringing your kitchen. It's lighting up your kitchen. And it's going to be like yogurt making and other things too. You're not going to faithfully every day make it, but you know, it's nice to have. It's nice to flip on and turn on, and every time you can have a workshop like this and learn something, it's that much more useful. Okay, what are brine pickles? I think I've mentioned it. They actually are a living food. They are never hotter than the sun, and that's a kind of a neat thing to say. And we don't cook. Nothing's pasteurized. When we get done tonight, you're going to be able to take your pickles home, set them on the counter, wait 4 days, and then you're done, and you just put them in the refrigerator, and from then on, you'll just keep them. Yeah, I found it. Oh, you found Page down, yeah. Okay. So brine pickles are not cooked. They're not pasteurized. You don't find them on the shelf in the store in the unrefrigerated section. There are a small group of companies that do make a live culture. You usually find them at Whole Foods and Chamberlain's, etc., in the refrigerated section, and it says it contains live culture. But once again, you're going to be paying about $6 to $8 for a pint of sauerkraut, and you can't believe, when you taste nice sauerkraut tonight, I did it in 11 days, and there's something unique about the perfect pickler. I can get it somehow to self-pressurize, and I can get really great tasting sauerkraut in 11 days. Anybody do it crock style, it's usually 3 to 4 to 6 weeks or something, and I don't know why, but page down. Well, I got thinking about how I'd start this lecture, but I guess I'm going to just edit real quickly here. But this is something that I've developed, and I call it a canning jar fermenter. And literally our probiotic farms. You're going to start with this mystery and this magic, but you put about a 7% solution of salt and water 2,500 years ago, the Chinese figured it out and had it written down. It was between 74 and 62 degrees, these certain bacteria ferment, and what it does is the salt draws the carbohydrates out of the vegetables. The bacteria live right on the vegetables. We don't need to have a starter. We don't need to do anything to have this happen. It's spontaneous, and it happens, and I say 1,000 times, you build it and they will come, and the pickling happens. And the perfect pickler is a simple living institution. I just thought that was kind of cool. I say, with the perfect pickler, you can become your own pharmacist, with an F. The nutrients found in brine pickles are not readily available in supplement form for any amount of money. Yet, amazingly, vitamins, minerals, enzymes, and rich probiotic cultures lie within the common vegetables and are unlocked when combined with sea salt and water. I've been in the research of my current book that I'm producing here. I came across something that was pretty powerful. This is the part that the science is starting to wrap their brains around, is the fact of the power of these foods. But the human digestive tract harbors trillions of bacteria, many of which establish lifetime symbiotic relationships with their hosts. The food we eat nourishes our gut flora, and those bacteria feed us with the products and byproducts of their own activity. The microbiome, they call it, has evolved to encode a variety of digestive enzymes, etc. One of the things they're finding out now, my latest research, is that there is a special product in broccoli called sulforain, and that the bacteria in the gut can actually break it away and use it as an anti-cancer chemical. And not that we haven't been doing it right along, but it's what they're discovering is happening. They're getting a kind of a look at what's going on. So I think you're going to appreciate the science is catching up with some of the value of eating fermented foods on a regular basis. I'm going to keep going here because I think we got the science down pretty good. Tonight we're going to have something that I love, and some of you, how many of you are familiar with daikon radish? How many of you just got to get, this is your first presentation of it? All right, it's a radish. We're used to in America the round red radish. These are long, tall, icicle-type radishes that are very common in the Asian diet. They're very prevalent now. They can be anywhere from mild to slightly peppery, and it depends on the time of year, etc. And tonight they're a little bit peppery, but they're a powerful food. And the Japanese, who live the longest in the world, year in, year out, always use a little bit of raw daikon when they're eating cooked foods and fatty foods and fried foods. And there's three really nice enzymes that are in daikon. So I thought that would be a good one to show you tonight. Not only that, but they peel and cut so quickly as I can probably make a batch of daikon radish in under 5 minutes, and they have a nice taste. If it gets too peppery for you after the 4 days and you taste it, you could add a little bit of sweetener to make it a sweet sour, and some of the Asian flavors of hot, sour, sweet, etc. This is something I finally dawned on me, is people really would like to start off at the beginning in its most simple form. So this is something I developed called pronto pickles. And it's one veggie, one spice blend in 10 minutes. And the spice blends, we're very fortunate. There's only about 5 or so of these Penzeys spice stores, P-E-N-Z-E-Y. It's in Winter Park, but they are a big catalog and a website. They have every spice in the world, and they're very clean. It's a very good quality product, but they have a store right here on downtown Old Winter Park, and you can go in there and sachet, and they have, so far they've got 15 salt-free spice blends from around the world. You can see the ones I have in the back here. And you can also make your own. I mean, everybody has their own level of how much they want to get into it, but I've been working with the spice blends here, and it's so fast to be able to have what you're going to do tonight is actually just take a teaspoon of, I've got 5 different spices over there, And we have one chili spice blend. We have one that's a mild curry from Singapore. And we have another one from northern India called Rogan Josh that's it's got real nice, it's not real spicy. So, and then Paul Prudhomme from New Orleans, I have one there that's a salt-free one that you can get right at Publix. And then I have some kimchi red pepper flakes that you can buy at the Asian stores. It's embarrassing, you can buy about, well, I got a big bag I'll show you for $3.89, it'll last you half a lifetime, but that's one thing great about kimchi though, is when you make your kimchi, you get to make it as hot as you like, so that most of us never ate kimchi because we were just afraid it was going to be so fiery we wouldn't even know what it was. So I've got the recipes that have worked for me tonight. We have a cucumber kimchi in the back that I think it's as good as I've ever made. And again, it's really simple, it's balanced flavors, and the pronto pickles I'm showing you tonight does not mean you could not add garlic or you could not add ginger. Where I'm at in teaching and in my life in cooking is how is it going to look, how is it going to taste, how is it going to feel. There is no real, there are some rules in brine pickling. There are certain foods that are vegetables that are just too soft and watery to work, but beyond that, if you can see a salad in your mind, you can probably make it in the jar. And the only difference is it's going to have billions and billions of, sounds like Carl Sagan, billions and billions of bacteria in your salad. And you're going to have a little bit of that. And I've even taken the salad, the pickled salads, and just put it on a fresh salad as a topping or a garnish. And I think that's the nice thing about brine pickling is it really opens up a brand new and an extra world of condiments and etc. It is a salty condiment. And it is a sour condiment. So as a cook and a chef, you can play with those two concepts and really come up with a lot of your own strategy. I've also been working with some wild vegetables. I tell you, I love to go to the ethnic supermarkets around town, and it's a ball. The latest ones I didn't even bring because you probably would think I'm too weird. So anyway, we'll show you some of my favorite ones for these pronto pickles are jicama. We got that in this stainless steel bowl. We've got chayote, which is a squash from Mexico. Very delicious. They have a light kind of a jade green. These keep a nice crunch. Kohlrabi, which is a member of the cruciferous family. It looks like a swollen broccoli stalk. Delicious. Daikon radish, that happens to be a curly one that I did some photo work here, and cauliflower. So those are like 5 of them there. If you were to try 15 different spice blends, put that all together, you'd have like 75 different pickles that you can make in about 10 minutes. So I think that's the exciting thing that we're going to be able to show you. Real quickly, I'm going to show you to be able to use your apparatus. At the very top, we have what's called the fermentation lock. It's actually, the red color in there, I put coloring in there so you can see, but it's just water. And what that does is it allows gases to escape out of the jar, but nothing floating in the air to get into the jar. So it's a safety device that works in the beer and wine industry, and it works perfectly in the Perfect Pickler. We have a lid that has the hole and a grommet in there that slides, the fermentation lock slides into. We have a rubber gasket that slides into the lid, and then the little Eureka is this little cup, which I call the brine overflow cup. And what that does is it floats inside there, but it locks up against the top of the lid, and whatever the pressure and the gas forms, it'll allow the air and a little bit of the brine to go into the cup, and then the gas escapes out the top. It'll collect the brine and give it some place to go, because the Perfect Pickler becomes pressurized, unlike crocks and all the other types of pickling in the world. And what happens is it must speed up the process. So that's all you're going to be doing, and I'm going to be showing you real quickly how to do it right here. And since we're running a little late, a little bit behind, I think we're going to have about 20 minutes worth of work time. So I'm going to give about a 5-minute demo real here quickly, and from there, we'll get ready to get into the workshop. I rarely, when the directions are asking for 1/2 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, your fingers are all got measurements. Go home, measure it up. This is a 1/2 inch to the thumbnail. This is 1 inch to the knuckle. Of course, this is a male hand. You may have to find different knuckles. Got to go home and do your own profiling. But when you're done, it's amazing. This is 2 inches, 3 inches, 4. You can 5, 6, and it's really quite interesting when you start to cook. It just saves time. This is the daikon radish, and all I'm going to do here is just really quickly peel it. Now, you can decide how you want to make your pickle and how you're going to eat it. If you want to make it into spears, maybe you're going to have it with a sandwich. Maybe you want to grate it. Maybe you want to cut it into cubes like we did tonight. It really doesn't matter, but you can just think it through. And sometimes you can do a little of each so that you can actually have a monochromatic jar of pickles that is shredded, it's cubed, and spears. It just doesn't matter. A lot of times when I was teaching classes, people would just get so uptight about the recipe. And one time we were teaching Mexican and we were doing quesadillas, and the people were just, so concerned. I said, look, it's a Mexican grilled cheese sandwich. I went, oh, they go, thank God. Why didn't you just say it was a grilled cheese sandwich? I said, Nero, you feel better? Well, that's what we're doing here. We're making, so anyway, I'm going to make these into cubes, and I'm going to do it. I'll have you know, this afternoon I cut about 35 pounds of vegetables, and it's great. It's great work. I love it. What I'm doing now is just, this isn't the important part about it, but I'm going to stop here because we're running out of time. But the other vegetable that I was telling you about earlier was the jicama, and it's great. It's very delicious. It's kind of like a texture of a raw potato, but it has a taste of mild apple, and it stays crunchy. Tom, can you grow these down here? Oh boy, these are going to be the next brine pickling superstar. They're so delicious. 6 months from now, they crunch, and they aren't like carrot crunch. It's somewhere in between. So you just peel it, and the same thing. It's very easy. That's one of the real fast pronto pickles. All right, so what I'm going to do now is the ones here are jicama. This is the daikon, and so who brought the carrots? Tia. Thank you, Tia. Okay. Anyway, we had some more organic carrots, and I'm not going to do anything too fancy, but if my mind was telling me to do something here, all we're going to do is fill this up to 2 inches from the top. Okay? So that's to the second knuckle. Now we're going to pour enough brine so that it goes to 1/2 inch to the tip of the thumb here. And that's going to be it. So that's how fast. Now I wanted to add some spice. Doesn't really matter. I've got 1 teaspoon containers here. I'm going to just get, this is salt free, but if you can get the salted ones, we're going to have to back off a little bit on the salt. The salt is actually, what you want to use is sea salt, something that doesn't have any kind of amendments to it. We really like the really good unrefined gray sea salt if you want to buy the better stuff. It's got about 77 minerals in it, and the science is these bacteria really set up, it's almost like an electrode, and it electrifies everything that's alive in there, and it really makes the minerals ionically available, and so same with the vitamins. And so you really have a great opportunity to make a superfood if you use a good quality sea salt. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. We could have made it in several layers of colors if we wanted to, but what I want to do is teach you pronto pickles. That's the most important thing, is I want you to say, hey, let's make a batch of pickles, and 15 minutes later you're done. All right, I made the brine up. It's actually, there's a regular formula. It's 1 tablespoon per 2 cups of filtered water. We don't want to use tap water. We don't want to use well water. We don't want to use softened water. Your first batch, if you're unsure, go to the store and just get spring water. That's the best. All right, so all I'm going to do here is I'm going to just add this till I put my thumb in here. And what I want to do is, when I put this little cup in here, we really want to be able to just have it so that the brine's going to actually flow out of this thing when I put the lid down. Okay? Just that way it's completely sealed. There is no oxygen inside here, but it's sequestered. Yet it's able to float in there, and actually it only drops down when the pressure allows it to. So it's kind of interesting science. And we got our little rubber gasket. It seals everything in. And I've already done the water here, and I put some food coloring in it so you could see. There's a couple little hatch marks on there that just show you where to do it. And you don't push it all the way in. You just push it in until it's snug. And that's it. How fast was that? And as I said, you put this on the countertop, or I find if you've got a ground floor house on a slab, the lower you put it on the floor, the cooler. It's a couple of 3 degrees cooler there, and in 4 days it's done. Any questions? Very quick questions, because we're going to want to get right to it. Cindy. The rubber gasket's new. It took me forever, but there is none. I had to have it built and designed. But all it does is it actually makes it more pressurized, because these lids don't necessarily will give you a complete seal. And sometimes it'll still leak because you'll have a little piece of garlic or something will get in it, but it's not a big deal. You know, we just don't want anything to get in. That's all. And then after 4 days, in the refrigerator, and you can just start eating. I'm not sure if Brita will work, because I don't know Brita doesn't get everything out, but I do a reverse osmosis, and I have one of those triple fillers, and it works fine for me. I don't want you to use something and get bad results and then not know. Start with the known. Start with the known. You know, you can go to the store and get anything that just doesn't, that's clean.